Stewart. All right, so Harry's here, and we are going to have some fun here today talking to and about first-time home buyers. We do want to remind you that you can shrink your payments by moving your auto loan to NuMark. You can save on your current car or truck from now until the end of February. Purchase or refi with NuMark and enjoy 90 days to your first payment. 90 days. Apply today at NuMarkCU.org or ask to speak to a loan officer when you give them a call. NuMark Credit Union has options for you. Learn more and apply by calling NuMark at 815-729-3211 or by visiting their website at NuMarkCU.org. That's NuMarkCU.org, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender. All right, my friend, let's kind of get an overview of what's happening in the market right now when we're talking about home buying.
Well, I have two good rules, and one rule is, people always need money, and second rule is people always need a place to live. So that being said, I would say like this market right now, it's definitely a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market, but it doesn't mean that you can't buy a house. It just means you're just going to have to be a little bit more aggressive and have to get out there. Like instead of waiting till the weekend to see the house, you might have to go like that night as soon as the home pops on the market. So interest rates are a little bit higher. They're still historically low, but they're a little bit higher than where they were last year. But if you could still afford the payment, and when I say a little bit higher, you're talking about rates in the threes. So it's not terrible. I remember when the rates dropped for the first time into the sevens, and I couldn't believe they were that low. but threes, we had some twos last year. A lot of rates in the twos, but so I guess threes aren't terrible, but no. They are higher than they were last year.
They are, and prices seem to be nosing up a little bit as well.
Yeah, prices in Will County, they're up about 14% from last year. So they're definitely on the rise. And I remember back when we first started the show, maybe 10 years ago, there was about 17, 18 months of inventory in Will County, and right now there's just over a month of inventory. So that doesn't tell you the picture. It's like the exact opposite. Not enough houses now, whereas we had too many houses back 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting, Harry. I heard a number last night from the gentleman that runs a department down in Shanahan. And he said in all of Shanahan, and it's not a small town. I mean, there's 14,000 people that live in that town. In all of Shanahan, guess how many houses are for sale right now?
Oh, geez. If I had to guess a number, maybe 12.
Two.
Oh, my God.
Now, we live in a lovely community, and people want to come and live there, but it's a combination of a lot of things, inventory, and not as many new homes being built as people would like because it's so expensive to build a new home now. So it's kind of, the pendulum has kind of swung just a little bit. And the prices of existing homes also are sometimes as high, if not higher, Harry, than new home construction because it is hard to get people that want to build homes right now. So existing homes are flying off the shelf.
Yeah, it's crazy. And us as Americans, we like our freedom of choice, but two houses doesn't give us a lot to work with, right?
No, not at all. All right, sir. Well, let's get into some of the specifics here, if you would, just a little bit. Let's talk about credit score and how to clean that up. Because if you're even thinking about buying a home or refinancing, you need to first and foremost check out your credit score because that's the gateway into everything, Harry.
Yeah, the credit score, it's so important because it gives you more options, gives you more flexibility, not just with programs, but also with your interest rate, debt ratios, approvals, down payments. A higher credit score is going to give you a lot more flexibilities with all of that than a low credit score. A low credit score might push us into one program, one product, and we don't really have a lot of options. But higher credit score, we could look at different programs, different down payments, lower interest rates. So it just gives us a lot more flexibility. So I would agree. And just because somebody has a lower credit score doesn't mean no. It might mean not right now. We've cleaned up credit on some of our members within a couple months, and then they qualify to purchase a home. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer, but I would say don't give up just because you have some blemishes. We're able to work on a lot of that stuff. So
right, yeah, good point. Very, very good point. So let's talk about income. Obviously, that's important. Also, you can't make next to nothing and expect to be able to get approved to buy a home, but at the same time, you don't need to make $100,000.
yeah, it's more not so much the actual income. It's more of debt ratio, like monthly gross income versus monthly expenses, like credit cards, car payments, types of installment loans, just whatever. Plus your housing, your not only your mortgage payment, but your taxes, your insurance, your mortgage insurance, any HOA. So we come up with like a debt ratio figure, and that's where that flexibility with the higher credit score comes into play. You might be able to get something at 50% or maybe even higher than that with higher credit score. Your debt ratio might be able to get that high. Whereas if you have a lower credit score, you might be capped at maybe 40% or even lower than that to trigger an approval with that product. So I would say debt ratio is important, and usually you just want to probably be under 45% with your debt ratio if I had to plug a general number on there.
Okay, we're visiting today with Harry Stewart, Vice President of Mortgage Lending for NuMark Credit Union. We're going to be giving away a $25 Visa gift card to the winner of our trivia question at the end. We're going to ask a question, something maybe we've already talked about, somebody that we'll talk about in the future. So stay with us. You'll have a chance to win that $25 Visa gift card. All right, how does someone know how much money they need for a down payment? Because back in the day, it was like, oh, you need to have 20%. And then it was 10%. And then, it kind of bounced around just a little bit. But what's important to point out, too, Harry, is I think you're going to tell us about some programs that are in place if you don't have a huge down payment.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that 20%. In fact, it's still all over the internet. Everybody talks about 20%. You don't need 20%. To purchase a home. A larger down payment helps because if you put down 20%, you could avoid mortgage insurance. You might have a little bit more flexibility. But there's first-time homebuyer products out there that can get you into a house for 3%, 5%, 3.5%. V loans, you don't even need a down payment. You could go in there at 100%. So there's different programs out there depending on where you fall program-wise. That'll get you into a house with a low down payment. There's also different grant programs. We're a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. There's a down payment plus program out there that gives you $6,000 to use towards down payment, and you don't have to pay it back, but you do have to income qualify. There's not a credit score qualification for that, but they're not. If you're making too much money, they're not going to extend that grant program to you. But if you income qualify for it, it does give you that $6,000 to use towards down payment and closing costs.
Nice. Now let's get into closing costs just a little bit too, because some people here, I don't think, take those into account. And if they're on a razor's edge, first of all, you don't want them to be on a razor's edge, and nor would you advise them to be on a razor's edge. But sometimes people just can't help themselves, and some mortgage companies can't help themselves. NuMark not being one of them, of course. You don't want to make somebody's house poor. There's no doubt about that. Talk a little bit about closing costs and how they will impact price as well.
So I would say on the average in Illinois, the closing costs can be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. There's also going to be we're going to start up an escrow for your taxes and insurance with that. Usually with these down payment programs, and that'll take up. Well, it depends on the taxes and the insurance for your property, but that could be another $2,000 to $6,000. However, in Illinois, the taxes are paid in arrears, so you're going to actually get a credit back from the seller for the time you didn't occupy the property for that tax year. So that can end up being anywhere from 11 to 13 months of tax credit that you're going to get back from the seller. So that'll kind of offset the initial escrow deposit and some of your closing costs, but it won't alleviate all of them. So I would plan on spending anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 in closing costs, and just if it's less than that, that's great. If it's that, then at least you go in there with both eyes wide open. So
Yeah, that's important to know, and that's why it's important, folks, when you're thinking about doing something like this, you need to really get somebody on your side, like Harry Stewart, that is going to walk you through the whole process. So there are no surprises. There are no, oops, you should have went there. You should have zigged when you could have zagged or something like that. It's going to be easy. You just basically turn everything over to him, let him walk you through it and advise you. And again, it's important, Harry, to do this prior to you finding that dream home, because if you see that dream home, you're like, oh, we need to check out our credit. Oh, that thing's going to be gone in an hour, not in a month.
Yeah, it moves. The process moves a lot faster now, and you might not have a lot of options. Like, you got to be ready to, if you want to use the term, pull the trigger on the house, like, right away. Like I remember going over to look at our first house a few times, with the parents and everything before we decided to make an offer, but it doesn't seem like you can do that right now.
No, not at all. Harry, earnest money, is that something that is involved in every transaction, or might just some people ask you for some money down?
I would say probably 95% of transactions are going to have some sort of earnest money. The only time there's not really earnest money is if it's like a family member or their friends. But for the most part, there's going to be earnest money, and that could be any amount. A common amount in Will County is about $1,000, but I've seen it as high as $10,000. If you're in a bidding war and trying to get a home, and one person is saying $500 earnest money, and somebody else is saying $10,000, the seller's probably more apt to give the contract or accept the offer of the person putting down the higher amount of earnest money. So it does play a role, but it's basically the earnest money is just basically locking you into a contract. It's like a good faith deposit on that contract. So.
And it's important to point out too that is not in addition to the settling price. That is a part of that, right? You're not going to have to tack on $1,000 more to the bottom line.
Exactly. What happens is the seller's broker ends up depositing that and bringing that to the closing. So it'll show up as a credit on your closing disclosure at closing. So it's not in addition to. It actually comes out the numbers. So a lot of people forget about that, and then when they see it at closing, they're kind of relieved.
Yeah. Whew, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Harry Stewart here for a few more minutes from NuMark Credit Union. Today we're talking about first-time home buyers. Let's talk about real estate agents and what we should look for, because seemingly everyone has a real estate license now, Harry. So how do we pick through the ones that are going to help us the most?
No, you're right. That's a great question, because I would say everybody knows somebody that has a real estate.
I got a guy.
It could be their cousin. It could be their mom's friend. The only thing I would say and it goes for lenders too. Go with professionals in this market. Just make sure you choose a professional organization. If you're going with a part-time realtor, you're probably not going to get the house that you want. You probably get frustrated. You don't want the one that's working part-time someplace else, and then they do part-time real estate. You really want like a full-time professional realtor. And if you see the ones that are actually getting the contracts done, I would pick one of those over somebody that's just putting in a bunch of offers and not getting any contracts. And NuMark's partnered with several professional realtors, so if you have trouble choosing, we could always point you in the right direction as far as that goes.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's super important, especially in this market,
Right.
because you don't want to get extra frustrated.
And what about finding somebody that can sell me a mortgage? You know anybody good there?
Yeah, we do a great job. We're
NuMark, that's right. Yeah, I'm joking, of course. It's Harry Stewart with an A on the end, folks. All right, big time mistakes that first time home buyers make. What? Give me just one or two.
I would say what we just talked about, not choosing a professional lender and a professional real estate agent. I'd say that's going to be a big mistake. And I would say hasty purchases it's tough to say because like right now, like what you were talking about, Shanahan, there's only 2 houses for sale. Like maybe you have to move in 3 months. So I'd hate to say hasty purchases, but maybe acting too quickly. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Overbidding, maybe going over your budget a little bit in purchasing the home. I think that could probably be an issue. But I would say the number one thing is probably not working with professionals.
Right. Okay. Harry, a couple other things before we spring you here this morning. Any home purchasing scams that home buyers should be aware of? I'm guessing yes.
You know what? I don't know if there's home buyer scams that I've heard of that have gained traction, but there's always wiring schemes that I hear of somebody hacking into somebody's computer and them ended up wiring money to some foreign country or something instead of to the title company. So if a purchase gets to that point where you're supposed to wire money to a title company, I would just make sure you get all the wiring information directly from the title company or your attorney before you push the button to send that money.
Okay.
So,
all right.
You just want to make sure it ends up in the right spot.
All right. And last but not least, getting started, find a professional to work with. That's probably the most important thing, Harry?
Yeah, I would say,
okay.
Especially in this market, just work with professionals.
Okay, sounds good. Nice talking to you, my friend. How could people get a hold of you? Just go to NuMarkCU.org, right? You're right there?
Yeah, that's the best way if they want to apply there. www.NuMarkCU.org, or they could call me directly. My direct line is 815-744-6767.
Love it. Harry, good talking to you, my friend. It's been too long. Enjoy Texas sunshine, and we'll see you back up here.
You know what? It's supposed to be 68 today.
Yeah. Well, you know what you can do with 68, right? I mean that lovingly, Harry. What I meant was go have a fun day, buddy.
All right. You too. Thanks,
all right.
Scott.
Truly one of the good guys in the business, ladies and gentlemen. Harry Stewart from NuMark Credit Union. Okay, I have a $25 Visa gift card, compliments of NuMark right now. Harry and I were talking about a lack of inventory. I gave him a number. How many homes are for sale right now in Shanahan? We mentioned the number 3 different times. 815-254-7300. 815-254-7300. Hi, good morning. You're on WJOL. Who's this?
Terry Perkins.
Hi, Terry. Where are you calling from today?
I'm in Joliet.
All right, Terry. How many homes are for sale in Shanahan?
2.
Yes. Nicely done, Terry. You have just won a $25 Visa gift card. See, it pays to be attentive.
That's right.
Beautiful. Terry, hang on. I got to give you some information and tell you how to redeem your prize. Terry Perkins.